Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. 6 weeks on, but is it any closer to opening? Nuneham Viaduct closed for being unstable and still causing disruption to thousands of commuters.
A renewed pledge to tackle domestic violence by Thames Valley Police as the new Chief Constable talks about his own personal experience.
Also this evening, left for dead on a country road in Oxfordshire. Rudy the spaniel. The RSPCA urges owners struggling with the cost of living to ask for help.
To be in a position where you can't afford to look after them, it must be really, really difficult. And I just really urge people to speak up to, family and friends, charities that are local to them.
And planting positivity, the Wellness and Wellies project in Basingstoke promoting good health and supporting food banks. How your vote could help them with National Lottery funding. Good evening. There's good news for rail passengers in the Thames Valley tonight after it was revealed a key route currently closed for repairs remains on schedule to reopen in June.
The Nuneham Viaduct, which crosses the River Thames near Abingdon, was closed last month after it became unstable, causing disruption to thousands of commuters.
Mel Blore has been to visit the site to see how work is progressing and sends this.
Well, work here at the viaduct has really ramped up in the last couple of weeks or so. The bridge has now been jacked up using steel piles, which has allowed engineers to remove the embankment and abutment wall. Well, joining me now is Stuart Calvert, who's in charge of the project for Network Rail. Stuart, explain in a bit more detail for me, if you would, about the work that's been going on over the last fortnight.
Well, you're absolutely right. We've jacked the bridge up onto a temporary structure which we had to build in the Thames. That allowed us to take the failing wall away that supported the bridge. We've removed that, and then we've had to create a space to build the new wall with big piling rigs. You can see the piles going in on the bridge. Now that will support the structure. So they'll be trimmed, and we put on what we call sill beams, which is a steel structure that will sit on top, and then the bridge can be lowered on that. When we've done that, we actually have to build another wall behind that will support the embankment. We've taken something like 300 or 400 lorry loads of material out of this embankment. We've got to put that back, new material, so that we can put the track on, ready to complete the job.
What have been the main challenges to working on this bridge?
Well, the biggest challenge is obviously that we've had to react really, really quickly. We've gone from what would have been a repair to quite an extensive piece of engineering. So mobilising everybody who's got to do that, the design engineers, the contractors on site, all the logistics of getting materials in, working with the River Authority, working with the neighbours, and on that, we've had tremendous support. We've had some noisy activity, a lot of materials, and we're really grateful for the support we've had. So logistically, very complex. Technically, very, very complex. It's a bit of everything you'd expect in a job that we'd normally spend 2 or 3 years doing. We've done it in a few weeks.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. Good luck with the rest of the project. Well, obviously, it has caused a lot of disruption for rail passengers and indeed the movements of freight. But the good news is, I'm told the work is on schedule, so we expect the railway to be reopened on June the 10th.
Mel Blore reporting there. In other news, a woman in her 60s has died in a crash on the M40. It happened yesterday morning between Bicester and the Cherwell Valley services. 4 others were taken to the John Radcliffe Hospital, including a 1-year-old boy and a woman in her 30s who were in a life-threatening condition.
The new Chief Constable of Thames Valley Police says he wants the force to prioritise domestic violence following a traumatic experience in his childhood. Jason Hogg's mother suffered domestic abuse and was murdered when he was just 8.
Well, in an interview about the latest crime figures, the Chief Constable told me he wants to do more to stop violence against women. I began, though, by asking him for his reaction to the new figures, which show that officers attended 170,000 incidents within the last year and made 31,000 arrests.
So today we're producing statistics showing the breadth, depth and complexity of the work the men and women of Thames Valley Police do every day on our streets. And I'm really proud, but I think what the data tells us today is our team have worked incredibly hard to make some real achievements in the 3 priority areas that we set last year, which was reducing homicide, solving more crime, and improving our response to violence against women and girls. And we've achieved in all 3 of those areas. And I am very proud of these results.
I know that domestic abuse is an area that you are particularly keen to focus on. It's an issue that's very personal to you, isn't it?
It is. Yes, when I was young, tragically, when I was eight years of age, my mother was a victim of domestic abuse, and I was brought up in a household with domestic abuse, and tragically she was murdered when I was a child. So clearly domestic abuse has always been important to me and a priority which I talk to my team about all the time.
The figures, though, do show that there's been a decrease in rape charges. Why is that, and is that a cause for concern for you?
So, like I've said, violence against women and girls has been an absolute priority, and I think if you speak to any officers or staff across the Thames Valley, they would say that is a priority for them. We've had over a 50% increase in solving sexual abuse crimes, 27% increase in solving more domestic abuse. But you're absolutely right. I think there's 2 offences less we charged this year for rape than we did last year. But we now, in the last 6 months, have brought into existence a dedicated rape team working very, very closely, hand in hand with the Crown Prosecution Service that oversees all rape investigations.
We saw a new knife sculpture unveiled in Reading earlier this week. There is currently an anti-knife crime campaign underway, but what direct action are you taking to reduce knife crime in the Thames Valley?
So of the statistics we're producing today, the one I'm probably most proud of is we've seen a 40% reduction in the number of people murdered across the Thames Valley in 1 year. We do know in terms of themes, in terms of those people who are victims of homicide, they are young men who are carrying knives, who are stabbing other young men.
The lack of public confidence in policing is an ongoing issue, of course. What are you doing to address that?
So there is absolutely no doubt that public confidence in the police nationally has been affected for some of the high-profile incidents we have seen, particularly in the Metropolitan Police. We're working incredibly hard to make sure that every contact we have with members of the public, we rebuild that trust one brick at a time. One of the things I've absolutely committed to doing with the Police and Crime Commissioner is doubling the number of neighbourhood officers on the streets. And the good news is, in the last 3 years, we've increased our numbers of officers by over 700 in the last 3 years. So I'm absolutely committed to doing everything we can to have more officers on the street and focusing on those crimes that matter most to the public.
OK, Chief Constable Jason Hogg, we have to leave it there, but thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you for your time.
Now, giving up a pet is a heartbreaking decision some people are forced to make when bills become unmanageable.
But after a dog was left in a cage by the roadside in Oxfordshire, the RSPCA is urging pet owners to ask for help rather than dumping them. Chloe Oliver has more.
Left for dead in a broken cage on a quiet country road in Oxfordshire, tied to the worn-out wires, this heartbreaking note. Please feed me and look after me. My owner is struggling to look after me. Named Rudy by those that helped him, the young spaniel suffers with a leg deformity, so he was luckily spotted by a passerby and handed over to the local RSPCA.
When he arrived, he had really wonky front paws. As you can see, they're starting to straighten up now. So he's been on cage rest for a little bit, which he didn't like too much, but we've persevered. And yeah, the sleep and I think the appropriate exercise, the appropriate diet for him is really starting to show itself now.
The friendly pup was abandoned on the 4th of May between Northmoor and Stanford. He was left with a black terrier, but he was spooked and ran off when the rescuer tried to pick him up. Nationally, there were more than 1,500 reports of abandoned animals in April alone. At this RSPCA centre in Aylesbury, Rudy is the 3rd abandoned animal they've helped in 5 months. They're worried the cost of living crisis is seeing an increase in people giving away their furry best friends.
My heart just goes out to people because I've got dogs myself, I've got animals myself, and to be in a position where you can't afford to look after them, it must be really, really difficult. And I just really urge people to ask for help, speak up to, family and friends, charities that are local to them. There are things out there that people can apply for. The RSPCA are doing the food banks, so you can go to certain food banks and pick up dog food, cat food, things like that. And yeah, just try and get support so they can stay where they are in their loving homes.
In the safe care of the animal charity, Rudy is enjoying lots of cuddles and after being given the medical once over, is looking forward to his first walk on Friday. Chloe Oliver, ITV News, Aylesbury.
The MP for Henley, John Howell, who's standing down at the next election, has denied reports that Boris Johnson is being lined up to fight the seat. Mr Johnson was Henley's MP before he was Mayor of London. Mr Howell was speaking on last night's Last Word programme.
There was a lot of speculation when you announced that you were standing down in the general election that you'd done a deal with Boris Johnson and he was going to be the new candidate in Henley. Can you confirm or deny that?
I can absolutely deny that. I do not do deals with Boris Johnson. I have not done a deal with Boris Johnson, and he's been told by the Conservative Party that he has to stand in his current seat.
So he won't be standing in Henley?
Over my dead body.
Seemed quite clear about that. Next, a 700-year-old oak tree in Caversham that was due to get the chop has been saved. The tree was due to be cut down to build a new 3-bedroom house in Gayhurst Close. But after hundreds of objections, the planning application has been withdrawn by the developer.
And you're watching ITV News Meridian in the Thames Valley, coming up in the programme.
When did you last shop at your local market? The campaign to boost trade and find the next generation of market traders.
And the weekend is only just around the corner. Things are set to turn a little warmer for all of us too, with some welcome spells of sunshine. I'll have the full forecast later in the programme.
And for more from right across the south, just head to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us, the number 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can always follow us on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram. We always love to hear from you.
Now, the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international stories at 6:30. With the details for us this evening, here's Lucrezia Millarini.
Defiance in the face of war. The Prime Minister warns Russia we are not going away ahead of President Zelensky's arrival at the G7 summit.
Russia needs to know they can't just outlast us in this conflict, that we will continue to defend Ukraine.
UEFA investigates after West Ham players are forced to defend their families against rival fans at a match in the Netherlands. And a bassist who helped define an era of British music, Andy Rourke, has died at the age of 59. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, when was the last time that you visited your local market?
Well, as part of Love Your Local Market fortnight, traders in Newbury are inviting people to come and show some love for local businesses.
The campaign is all about celebrating markets and finding the next generation of traders, as Catherine Walker explains.
Selling everything from bags to brownies, England has a rich tradition of markets. And in Newbury, it's a job that butcher Malcolm has treasured for more than 4 decades.
It's the very thing, you never know what's going to come along. I enjoy going to Smithfield Market and buying the meat. I go there on a Tuesday night at midnight. I enjoy coming back here, or Hungerford Market here, all my other markets I do. Just meeting different people. You see a whole range of people. You never know who or what's going to walk up.
The UK has more than 1,000 local markets, bringing more than £3 billion to the economy. But without new traders, the industry is worried about their future.
So we need to build a new generation of market traders. As you go around the markets, you'll probably find that many market traders are getting sort of older. So Love Your Local Market is about attracting the younger generation and showing them that markets can make a very attractive employment and business opportunity.
Part of that plan involves giving young traders like Ellie a chance to try out their own stall.
I'm finding it really good. It's nice to have like the customer interaction face to face, because I was on a website, but it's nice coming in person. There's so many opportunities. I found it's kind of a bit of a network here, and interacting with the customers, trying new flavours and seeing how they go down.
For transformation guru Debbie, it's also about attracting a new generation of shoppers.
So we do regular customer surveys and we'll be looking to recruit traders selling specific goods. So things like your fruit and veg are always going to be popular, but in terms of other things like arts and crafts, so it's really about the customer. What does the customer need and want, and making sure that we provide that.
In Newbury, it's all about supporting local traders.
Well, yeah, it is important to shop locally, isn't it, to keep the local people going. I mean, if they're not there, you haven't got it to use.
Well, I like the individuals involved. I like the lack of plastic and the fact that I can choose, so that's really important to me.
There's always something different and something original, something you can't find in big supermarkets.
Full of independent businesses, markets have been at the heart of society since the Middle Ages. This fortnight is all about securing that heritage for the future. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
Now, as football rivalries go, there are few more bizarre than the one between the Seagulls and the Eagles. Not strictly neighbours, games between Brighton and Crystal Palace are fought with the ferocity of a local derby. But why? Well, a play currently running as part of the Brighton Fringe is attempting to explain, as Andy Dickinson found out.
Yes, we hate each other. It is the strangest rivalry in football.
Two England fans thrown together only to discover they support rival clubs. The complex history of Brighton and Crystal Palace's shared animosity, explored by actors, entertaining audiences at the Brighton Fringe.
The play touches on, I guess, an aspect of tribalism that can come with being a football fan. But I think beyond that, it does look at masculinity. And there's an element of classism as well there, and what that comes with the territory of football.
But an eagle, oh, it's a beautiful bird. It's noble, majestic.
Coming into it as a female director, I was really interested in what these characters had under the surface of these emotions and why they had that strong feeling and connection to football and what that brought out in them. And I think that was really fascinating to dig into.
In the last 15 minutes or so, things got really heated. You were awarded a penalty and you scored from it. But the ref, he didn't like the way the players were encroaching on the pitch, so he ordered it to be retaken. So bam, the ball is booted from the penalty spot a second time, but this time our goalie Paul Hammond saves it. Palace go on to win 1-0, Brighton freak out big time, and your manager, Alan Mullery, he goes ape. He gets his loose change out his pocket, he chucks it into the crowd, he says, "That's all you're worth, Palace." Well, after that, that's when we really started to hate each other.
I mean, it's a game at the end of the day, isn't it? So hopefully that's what our play is about. Listen, you can take it seriously, but we've got more in common, I guess, is what they say, than we have apart. If you've never been to the theatre before and you think it's not for you, hopefully you come here and you'll change your mind. So that's really what we're doing. And I think Fringe is great for that, really.
The Eagle and the Seagull performing until Sunday, the Fringe running for another 2 weeks. The high-flying clubs themselves set to do battle once again in the Premier League next season. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Brighton.
High drama indeed. Now, Frankie Dettori will compete in the Lockinge Stakes at Newbury tomorrow for the last time. The hugely popular jockey has won this race 4 times, most recently 2 years ago. But this is his final season, with his last ever British outing set to be the Kipco British Champions Day at Ascot in October. The UK's highest ranked female golfer, Georgia Hall, has been in Sandwich ahead of the Women's Amateur Championship next month. Georgia, from Bournemouth, won the prestigious competition in 2013 as a 16-year-old schoolgirl. She says it's a fantastic launchpad for new talent.
I think this is one of the best areas of golf in the UK, and it brings the best amateurs in the world to come play this event. I certainly played against the best when I played in this event 8 to 10 years ago, and I think it'd be great if we can get a crowd out watching, especially in the later rounds of the event. I know it adds a little bit more pressure and just more of a greater experience for the girls taking part.
Finally from me, some young cricketers from West Sussex had a bit of a surprise when a hot air balloon stopped their match. The under-10 sides for Chiddingfold and Blackheath were playing at Luckershall near Chichester when the balloon swooped over the rooftops and landed on the pitch. Unbelievable. Just to say good luck to Ascot United, who are at Wembley in the FA Vase final on Sunday.
Unbelievable. Disgraceful is what it was, Andrew. Disgraceful. Thank you very much.
Now to the People's Projects. Over the next 2 weeks, you'll have the chance to help decide where thousands of pounds of National Lottery funding is spent.
Yes, each night this week, we're showing you a project in the Meridian region that's doing great work bringing people together.
The People's Projects is a partnership between ITV and the National Lottery Community Fund. And tonight we hear from Innsbruck and their project, Wellness and Wellies. To tell you more, here's James Dunham.
Mental, physical and emotional well-being. Wellness and Wellies aims to plant positivity in people's lives, in its garden and beyond. I say beyond because at the charity Innsborough's Basingstoke Food Bank, some of the fresh veg grown outside is handed out to people like Matt, who uses the service because of the rising costs of living.
It means I can cook proper meals. Being on low income, with the cost of living nowadays, it's so hard to stretch it across for a full week shopping. So coming to a place like this, it is a massive difference.
Outside, children are learning how to make sausage pasta with a few important surprises thrown in.
Sneaking vegetables in, they might be like, oh, I've never used courgette before. And do you know courgette goes well with this dish? And they try it. Oh, I like courgette with this.
If you had like a bad day, it just gets it off your mind. And that's a really good thing to cook.
You'll see some green growth coming up through.
It's likely potatoes will be in future recipes. They're being planted by this group of teenagers who are given the chance to engage with nature through the project.
How do you feel when you're in this environment?
It's nice because you're outside in the open air instead of inside.
Wellness and Wellies is for adults too, one of the 52 volunteers aged 92. Evelyn is among those tending to the garden. She got involved following the death of her husband.
It's made such a difference in my life coming over here. Rather than being at home, you know, feeling maudlin at times, I'm getting out and about here and it's lovely. And these people are lovely as well.
Funding from the People's Projects would allow Wellness and Wellies to hold its gardening and cooking sessions more frequently, as well as giving them the opportunity to plant even more vegetables in the garden to be given away at the food bank. There would also be money spared to fix a leaking roof in the summer house.
The funding would also transform this shipping container into an outdoor classroom.
It is being outdoors, growing food, building support networks, building friendships is vital for people these days. That's what we all need to keep our emotional and mental well-being.
That potential of giving a green-fingered boost to even more people is why this lot are asking you to...
The 3 projects with the most votes will receive a grant of up to £70,000 and the runners-up will be awarded up to £10,000.
To vote, go to itv.com/The People's Projects. Voting closes at 12 noon on Friday the 26th of May and you can only vote once per region and you'll need an email address or mobile phone number to vote. Terms and conditions and privacy notice can be found on our website.
Now, let's get a check on the weekend weather forecast. Here's Chris.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. After a fairly fine start of the day this morning with barely a cloud in the sky, actually, there were some scattered, quite heavy showers through this afternoon and evening. And as for the rest of this weekend, well, it looks to stay fairly dry, actually. A lot of high pressure sitting in the driving seat means that we have some sunshine. And where we've got the sunshine, it will actually feel quite warm and pleasant. This is the large area of high pressure, the Azores High, actually stretching across much of the southern half of the country. It keeps our winds fairly light through the weekend. And when we do see those clear skies, the sunshine gets to work and allows those temperatures to rise. Now, we still have a scattering of showers across the likes of Dorset as we work into the rest of this evening. They'll tend to fade away, though, leaving us with some clear spells through the second half of the night. A little bit of low cloud here and there, the odd pocket of mist and fog, and we start tomorrow morning with temperatures around 8 or 9 degrees. A fairly fine and quiet start to Saturday morning, feeling quite pleasant in any of that sunshine that we see through much of tomorrow. Clear blue skies for most of us, Ginners out there I think, but then we'll gradually begin to see just a little fair weather cloud bubbling up through the afternoon. Top temperatures 20-21 degrees Celsius is possible, but don't forget that UV levels are high. Now here times of high water for tomorrow, looking at Poole there at 3 minutes past 10 tomorrow morning, and again at about 10:15 tomorrow evening. As we leave Saturday and go into Sunday, we still have that area of high pressure clinging on across much of the country, and in fact a fairly fine day to come on Sunday as well. Clear skies means that the sunshine gets to work and our temperatures could rise that little bit higher, up to around 21 if not 22 degrees. And we continue the warm feel and the dry and settled weather into much of next week. Don't forget that UV levels will generally be high. Pollen's next.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
And as for that all-important pollen forecast, pollen levels through the weekend will remain at low. This is for the grass pollen, which is just about starting. If you're still affected by some sniffles, it's because tree pollen is moderate. Bye-bye.
And that is it from us for this evening. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Lucrezia Millarini tonight.
So for now, from the team here, enjoy the sunshine this weekend. We'll be back Monday morning. Until then, all of us, good night.
Bye-bye.